what we're going through right now in this post-pandemic was how it was always supposed to be. All of these businesses popped up. And then now it's not that things are down or bad, but now we're really just testing your sales skills. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. It is Dielle and Gina here, and we are going to be kicking off of our series all about how to fix your sales and money for the best 2026 year financially ever. And so before we do that, we just want to remind you, make sure to listen to last week's episode where we talk about our app that we are launching. We're so excited. You can go to smallbusinessmoneyapp.com to learn more about it. And with that, we have two fun opportunities with that. We are also going to be doing a coachathon, the Millionaire Money Coachathon, where Gina and I on June 1st will be answering questions for 8 hours. I'm so excited. Live, where you can come in and call and tell us all the details about what's going on with your money, what's going on with your sales. And you have two seasoned millionaires helping you through that to kick off our app. And then from there as well, we have our Kickstarter. And so there will be at least 6 different opportunities for you to invest in the app and help us get this off the ground. So you can go to smallbusinessmoneyapp.com to get all of the information. Awesome. Yay. We're so excited. Okay. Well, today we're going to be talking about sales. So how to fix your sales. And then in the subsequent series, we'll be also talking about money, how to put it all together with your mindset, and then doing some more Q&A. So make sure just to keep listening to our podcast for the rest of the month. All right. I'll give it to you, Gina.
Let's dive in. I'm going to interview Dielle today because, she is the sales queen, the sales queen. She's helped me scale my business to over $1 million, and she still says I suck at marketing. So if she can get me to 1 million, she really knows her stuff. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to ask you, Dielle, is, who do you work for? Like, put us into context of, does this advice that you're going to give apply to all business owners? Is it just certain types of business owners? Give us some context here.
Yes, so I'm a sales coach primarily for women of color, even though I've helped all sorts of people. I just offboarded a man as a private client of mine. And so I've worked with all sorts of people, but I primarily work with women of color and I help them in the online space. So coaches, service providers, I even worked with a graphic designer or a wedding planner, anyone in the online space increase their sales with online marketing and sales tools. With that as well, I'm really good with sales calls, and lots of businesses do all sorts of sales calls. Great with marketing, webinars, emails, copy, really all things sales and marketing.
I think you're selling yourself short. Like, I know you work with people who are online, but like, I can think of, for example, a lot of my clients are in construction. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, you would kill with the construction crews because they do estimates and sales calls. And it's like, there's a lot more that Dielle's work applies to.
Okay. No, I remember when I was getting, and Gina and I, we have an episode on Gina getting a post-nup and I got a prenup, and we did a whole episode on that. I remember when I was contacting my family lawyer for my prenup, I was like, this is an awful sales call. Thank God I need this in a couple of weeks, or I probably would have went to somewhere else. And so I think sales is applicable in all areas.
Private doctor. I feel like I call you often to be like, I just got off the worst sales call, but like, I still buy because I really want the thing. But man, it's people forget that it's nice to be sold to well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's not scammy. People want to be sold to well. So let's back up. Tell me about what you're seeing right now in 2026 is kind of either the big buckets or the biggest problem that business owners are feeling with sales.
Yes, I would say people are still, depending on the industry, and I know you have lots of different people in your industry, but I would say it's pretty universal. People are still in the heyday of the pandemic, and they're like, I had my biggest month, or my business just started, or I just pivoted in the pandemic, and sales were never as easy as it was back then. And I'm still struggling to get that up and running, and struggling to get those same numbers, or struggling to have that same sense of ease. I've really been seeing people struggling. It just feels harder. Like getting people to say yes feels harder. Maybe they have more competitors. Maybe they're people. Something I've seen a lot is people are saying, my ideal client has already tried what I've offered and they don't want to try this again. So say I have like a $2,000 program. They've already invested in 6 other $2,000 programs and I'm struggling articulating how I'm different. And so there might just be saturation over the thing that you're doing. So again, just more looking at the past and be like, it was easier then, it was easier then. I would say that's one of the main things that I'm seeing. Another thing that I'm seeing is, okay, people are just having too many pricing objections. They are not trying to spend money right now at my current investment or at my price point. I'm really struggling with money objections and articulating my value. I just got a client that said, yeah, I'm struggling, like saying, how is my weight loss coaching program equivalent to my price? Like, I don't know how to communicate that. And then I would say, and a lot of my clients joke because they're like, DL, you always say this, but it's so important. Leads. People are struggling with leads. They have the infrastructure, they have the sales process. They're like, I just need more people to learn about me. I just need more people to understand my work and see the value in what I'm doing. I want to grow my audience. I want to grow my referrals. I want to grow my network. So I would also say it's leads.
Okay. I have a question about the 2020 comparison one. Are they correct? Like, is it true that it is harder now? Or is it just that they feel that it's harder because they have a skills gap, or is there some other reason? Like, would you say it's true?
Yes and no. And so one of my really good friends, her name is Lindsay Dotzloff, she said this and I thought it was brilliant how she articulated it. She said, what we're going through right now in this post-pandemic was how it was always supposed to be. Yeah. Like, she was like, we're actually in a normal selling sequence and normal selling cycle right now. We're not down. This is how it was in 2019, right? Like,
calibrated.
We just evened out, right? And she was like, this is how it was. Like, this feels like 2019 again, as it should. The world shouldn't feel like it's going through a global pandemic, right? And so I just like that reframe to be like, yes, let's throw everybody a bone. Things are different, but that difference necessarily shouldn't have happened fundamentally. Like that, it was a literal world event. Like, think about it like a tsunami or earthquake. Like that was not common. Like, it was not supposed to be like that.
I was just going to say too, like, if you entered in 2020, you would not know any different.
Exactly.
And a lot of people entered business in 2020 because they got furloughed, they got laid off, they needed some way to make money. And then conversely too, like, to the point of the leads, I can imagine it was just like everyone was online because they were in the house. So yeah, of course you had more eyes. Everyone was online. Would you agree?
Yes, and then even with people who are online, people just fundamentally, what I say is they just wanted to change their life. And so people wanted to learn new skills. They wanted to try new things. My husband's a psychologist. Therapy skyrocketed because people like, I want to figure out what my life is. I want to figure out what I'm doing in this time. I feel like gyms also like pivoted. We got the Pilates movement going on. People like, I want to get in shape. I want to get fit. People tried different things. It was an extreme.
There were so many product-based, like the little crochet kits or candle. There was a lot of product-based too, like home-based product that exploded.
I remember a foot care company like DMing me on TikTok being like, my sales were never higher than in the pandemic, because people are like, I have kind of, I'm not spending my money on vacations. Right. I'm not spending my money on going out to eat. I still have my high tech corporate salary. Let me go see how I can spend my money. Let me get some foot cream sent to my house.
I had a membership for at-home DIY boba kits, like the milk teas. They were so, because I missed the boba, but then I stopped doing it after the pandemic because then we could go out and get boba.
Yeah. All of these businesses popped up. Like, there was just so much innovation. And so again, I like to just ground the conversation to be like, that was never how it was supposed to be. Now too, I think it also just inflated everybody's sales belief, being like, oh, I can sell anything. I can sell anything to anybody. Because again, that's what that time was. And then now it's not that things are down or bad, but now we're really just testing your sales skills. Can you like sell your thing to the average person that has a very busy life and very busy demands, and their finances are being pulled in lots of different directions?
Yeah.
Can you sell your product to that average everyday experience? That's all that this current market is asking you to do.
I totally agree. I think what I see in my clients, and I don't even coach on sales like that, but what I see in my clients is I'm like, oh, you just didn't have to learn skills.
Mm-hmm.
And you could float by on the momentum of the moment and the unique set of circumstances. And now you're being faced with your lack of skills. But the thing that I see happening, I'm curious if you see this with your clients, is it's not that this learning the skill is the problem, it's the ego death. For them, it doesn't feel like, oh, I just didn't learn a skill. It feels like the end of the world, the end of the business. Do you see that?
100%. And that's because, going back to our conversation that we talked about last week, like money is so personal and we make money so much deeper, and that ego death will distract you from learning the skill, right? You're so much into, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe my thing isn't good enough. Maybe I won't make it. You're so in there versus, oh, I just need to clean up my ad copy, or I'm just going to get better radio ads, or I'm just going to do a different webinar title. The more you can stay there. And I would actually say in the pandemic, the buyer was experimental, but also us as business owners, we were experimental. We're like, let's try this. Let's try. We weren't as attached either. And so I think if we can go back to that mindset, can you experiment the way that you experimented in the pandemic? Can you go in with that naivety? Can you say, oh, let me try to open up my creativity here? I think you would see better results.
So let's talk about what you think are the maybe top 3 sales skills that everybody needs to have, regardless of niche.
Oh my God, geez. Okay, well,
work.
we were already kind of talking about this. Number 1, you need to know how to have a sales conversation. I think even if to this point, even if you're selling at home boba kit things, right? What if you wanted to get a wholesale order in a store? What if you wanted to get a bulk order for a certain organization that wanted to do like a virtual team building exercise? You need to know how to have a sales conversation. You will likely talk to someone regardless of what you do. And so can you walk them through what is your problem? What are your goals? Here's how I can help you. And then talk about the price with the actual person on some sort of sales conversation. I would say that's the first thing, is having clean, converting sales conversations. The second thing is messaging. What does your thing do for somebody? Not what you want it to do, not what you created it for, but how will your product service offering solve a key problem for your ideal client? So then figuring out what is your messaging around your service or product or offering. And then I would say the third thing is differentiation and like quote unquote brand. So what makes you different? So if you're a, construction company, what about your construction process is easier? Can you cut down the labor costs for your people? Can you shorten the duration of the construction project? Do you use a special type of wood that's better for the environment? And your type of buyers really care about that. What is your differentiator? I think long gone in the entrepreneurship days where we can kind of just slap up a business and then cross our fingers. You do need to know how are you different from your competitors, and you need to like spend time thinking about that. And if you can't come up with anything, come up with something. Like for me, again, I primarily work with women of color, and I rebranded my company at the end of 2024 going into 2025. And I was like, I don't know if I want to continue to niche down into women of color. It's a lot of responsibility. And I've had some different conversations with my team. And a friend at the time told me, they're like, okay, but if you take that away, you're just a basic sales coach. Like there's nothing different about you. I was like, okay. And so I kept that in there and actually doubled down. And now I'm definitely seeing the fruits of that labor. Like we've been getting a lot of brand opportunities and corporate sponsorships. So yeah, I do think you have to know what your differentiator is as well.
I'm writing notes. I'm looking at this list. It is very like core skills.
Yeah.
Like this is going to come out wrong, but like very basic. Like, yeah, everyone needs to have this. But so I feel like in the pandemic, a lot of us just skated by on there's high demand. There's like a lot of supply chains were held up, or there was just like, there's just a ton of people. and there were stimulus checks and there were low interest rates and money was flowing. And yeah, like a lot of us got to skip some of this stuff. I think especially the differentiation is really coming up right now. Okay, so walk me through, especially for the people who don't know you or haven't been in your content, like poking around like that. What is your sales conversation like framework? Do you have a script you give people? Is it like a 3-step? Is it like follow-ups? Like how do you have a good sales conversation?
Simple. For my social work days, I used to be a social worker. And I would have this triage treatment plan tell the service like style of when a patient or a client would come into my office, where I had to learn how to build trust with them very simply. And so that's what I help people do. So you triage them just like how you would go to the doctor, and you don't talk to the doctor right away. You go through the nurse's station, and then you go through the room, and then they ask you more questions and they get your temperature. And then you talk to the doctor like 45 minutes later. The same thing here. Before you talk about your offer or your solution, you want to make sure you understand the problem first. You'll spend 30 minutes just going through a triage, and then you'll put together something that I call a treatment plan. A treatment plan is 3 core things that you'll help that person with. Why 3? People ask me that a lot. Why 3? Why not 5? Why not 1? 3 is a good number where it is not overwhelming, where it's a laundry list of things, but it's also enough where it's like, okay, well, I could pay X amount of money to have these core 3 things solved. And with those 3 things, you just want to make sure that they're custom. One of the biggest things that people do wrong on sales conversations is they just read off of a sales script, or they just do, okay, well, here's my 5-step offer framework or my 5-step whatever process. Here's what we walk all of our clients through. They don't want to know that. They want something custom to them. So I say every sales conversation should be different. And their eyes kind of get out of there. They're like, what? I'm like, every sales conversation should be different. I said, think about it when you're on like a bank teller and you're like, speak with a representative. Like, none of these options apply to me.
I always do that. I'm like, press 0.
We want something specific to us. Even if they are step 4 in your 5-step framework, they're not going to read it that way. They're going to check out and be like, okay, yes, they're just templatized process, versus with the treatment plan, it's specific to them. And going back to the doctor analogy, I want you to think about when the doctor is just like looking down at their little iPad. They're like, okay, we'll take this medicine and take that and take this. You feel like, okay, will this work for me and my body? Are we missing something? That's often how I feel at the doctor. I'm like, are we missing something? Like, is there anything else I should be doing? Or I'll often say, oh, I already tried that. And then they look up, they're like, you did? I'm like, yeah, because you didn't listen to me, right? So that's also one of the worst things you could do in a sales call, is repeat something that they've already tried and failed at. But again, it's because you didn't come in with a customer approach. So again, you would have the triage, treatment plan, give those 3 strategies, and then tell them the offer. I'm a big believer in saying the price in the sales conversation, because they're going to know the price regardless. That's what I think people forget about. Like, they're either going to know the price with you or without you. I would rather them be with me and they showcase all their problems and all their concerns about it, or they tell me another circumstance which would influence the pricing that I give them. I want all that information up front, because they will have to know the price to pay. And so I don't think sending it passively in an email or inbox is the best way to do it. And so going through the price, going through all those things up front is so important.
One of my favorite things that you've ever said is objections are just questions.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's so much sales content where like, handle the objection. And it's like, whoa, it feels like I'm going to war on a phone call. Like, what? And can you just speak a little bit about objections are just questions?
Well, to this point, one of the things I say is don't be offended at the ask. Right? Like, so many times we're like, they ask me, why is my pricing like this? Or they ask me like, oh, I don't, why did they do that? And it's just like, they get to ask. Like, don't be so offended at the question itself. When I'm on sales calls, I still do sales calls to this day. I'm like, they get to ask questions. They get to share what's coming up for them. And I think about a lot like jewelers, like high-end jewelry stores. I love Tiffany Co. And if you've ever been to a high-end jewelry experience, they will sit with you for a long time.
You want to try anything on? Sure.
Yeah.
Pull it out for you. Would you like some coffee, water, tea, champagne?
Yeah, and if they're like, okay, you have a question about the band, like a ring, you have a question about the band, you have a question about the cut, you have a question about the insurance, they're so patient. They'll sit and be like, here's our insurance policy. Here, let's get the magnifying glass. Let's look at it close. They will sit because they know if they feel good, if they feel like all their questions are answered, they'll buy. So they have the patience. They're never offended at the ask. But we're so offended because we're just a little bit more closer to the product. We're like, I thought I did a good job. And it's just like, no. And often too, you're a stranger. Like they're giving a lot of money to a stranger that they haven't met before. They get to ask questions. They get to poke around a little bit. And so I always say, like, don't be offended at the ask. And like one of my concepts is called the objection tree. So whenever you get an objection, think about like, okay, I want to get to the root. I don't want to be on the tree, like leaves level. I want to get to the root. So I always say for every objection you get, ask 2 or 3 clarifying questions. Never just answer it. So if someone says, oh, I don't know if I have the time for this, don't say, well, it's only going to take you 3 months to get this done. Don't lead in with an answer. Say, okay, how much time do you have? Okay, what is the biggest obstacle when it comes to your time, or what part do you think is super time intensive? Okay, why do you think this would take long? What part are you imagining is going to take longer than maybe it needs to be? Whenever you have an objection, you miss something, right? You miss a key part of information. So you need to investigate and go down the objection tree to get to that key issue. Then you have more information to give a solid answer back to the client. But yeah, there's no like, I see those reels all the time and I want to create like my own style, but mine is so soft. I don't think they would, I don't think they would perform, which might be my thought error, but I'm like, it doesn't have to be like this deep thing or like this hack where you're like, well, you don't believe in yourself if you don't invest in it. Like, it doesn't have to be like that at all. It's just like, you just missed something. Get that information. And the buyer is often like, oh, okay, I totally thought it would take 6 months or 3 months. And you're saying it could take 6 weeks. Yeah. If you have that energy, it converts way better.
One of my pet peeves is when my clients go, oh, well, they just weren't an ideal client.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay, in my world, it's more like they weren't qualified. They weren't like qualified buyers. I don't believe in that. I always use the example of I was working with one of my clients was a confidence coach, and she was like, I didn't close any of my sales calls. I was like, why? And they're like, they weren't confident. And I was like,
aren't you supposed to teach them that?
I was like, right. And so when they come to me, they're like, well, they're not qualified. I'm like, because your thing is going to help them be qualified. And so it's a lot of like chicken before the egg, right? And or for you, it's like, well, they're in debt. It's like, yeah.
Well, you know what I get it because it comes up with refunds. I'm like, I want to refund that client. And then they're asking me about the money side. And, they just weren't an ideal client. And I'm like, no, this is a little spicy, but I'm like, you just weren't up to the challenge.
Yeah. You weren't prepared.
Yeah. And then you're making it mean something about them and you instead of just being like, oh, they just had a problem I've never encountered. Let me try and solve it.
Exactly. And whenever I get a quote unquote crazy client, I get excited. I'm like, ooh, I'm about to learn so much. I'm about to create a whole new process or a whole new system and open up my clientele, right? To be able to serve this client. If anyone's like, okay, but can I really help every single person under the sun? I don't think so, DL. I hear that. And what I say is like, qualified clients or ideal clients are demographics, not thoughts. And so if you get somebody on the sales calls that's a little quirky, they're a little out there, that's just maybe a personality trait. Right. Yeah, that's just like a personality trait. That doesn't mean that they're going to be a bad client. Do they meet your filters? And then also what I tell my clients is, are you changing your filters? Every client, oh no, they can't be like this. Oh no, they can't be like that. Then that's a you problem, right? That is a you problem. So yeah, I think we abandon ship. But when you think about, and it's so counterintuitive, if you think about growth, if you want to double your clients, you're going to double the personalities that you serve. You're going to double the different type of problems. Like I think about you, Gina, you primarily serve like coaches and service providers for a very, very long time. Then you have farmers and like
I have over 21 industries that I work with.
I remember you said there was like a Hawaiian dog trainer person.
I have a dog groomer in Hawaii.
Yep.
I have plumbers, electricians, alfalfa farmers, flower farmers,
Alfalfa.
brick and mortar, like gift shops, Airbnb management. I have
It all.
everything under the sun. Insurance adjusters, mortgage brokers, the whole thing.
If you want growth, you have to grow, right? Like you have to grow yourself, right? And you have to learn how to sell all those different type of people and all those different types of things. But I will say, when you learn how to sell one really good, you could kind of learn how to sell everything. Like recently, I've been doing some brand partnerships. I've never done brand partnerships before, like brand sponsorships. I'm closing those calls left and right? Because I've gotten so good doing everything else. But that to that point, one of the things I say, and take this with a grain of salt, I'm curious your thoughts, Gina. Have the mindset from a sales perspective of like, I don't say no to money. Like I figure out within my budget, within my limitations. That doesn't mean I'm going to go hire a whole other team just to fulfill on this one type of client, but I'm going to figure out how to deliver my service to them. That's how I'll be able to grow.
I fully agree. And my caveats there are I have reserves. So if it blows up, I'll just refund them and cut ties and move on.
Yeah.
But I'd rather take the chance to learn. Yeah. And if it does blow up, I can take the L because I have 3 months of cash in the bank.
Have you had to refund someone because they weren't an ideal client though?
I had to refund a one-on-one client once.
Wow.
It blew up.
Really?
There was a big thing that blew up early on, and I had the cash to refund it, but I learned so much. And to your point about the qualified leads, that was, you actually said that to me. It's not thoughts, it's it's like facts, it's demographics. There were actual facts about that I missed in the sales call. Later on, I had another sales call years later that reminded me of her from that like personality. It was a little erratic. And I was like, oh no, am I just saying no to this because it reminds me of that person and she's a little erratic and a little odd maybe that maybe I'm not used to. And then I sat with it and I'm like, no. She literally asked me on the sales call how to commit tax fraud. And I'm like, that's a demographic. That's not a personality. That's something I don't do.
Right.
So I was like, that was such a helpful thing to be like, help me parse out where am I just trying to run away from a personality type versus where is there actually concrete evidence that this is not I can't provide a service that they're asking for.
Exactly. And what I always tell people is think about yourself. Are you normal? No, you're not, right? Like for me, I'm a very kooky client. Like I already know that about myself. I'm a little bit of a hard ass. Like I already know that about myself. But will I pay my invoice on time? Yes. Will I probably re-sign and work with you long term? Yes. And so am I a good client from a business perspective? Yes. I'm just a little kooky. And so I also think about myself. I'm like, I'm odd. I'm strange. And we all are. We all have our stuff. And so just dropping so much in sales is dropping judgment. We judge so many things all the time. I was just talking to a client and she has this like TV opportunity to do, and she's in a very like healing niche, and the TV is a little off brand for her. It's like a little bit broy, and she was like, I don't think my ideal client is there. She is I won't get into the details, but she is a very specific parenting coach. And I was like, so where there's adults, there's parents. Like 80% of the viewers are gonna have a child. You're their ideal client. She was like, oh, we just judgment gets in the way of so many sales. Oh, I don't want to work with them. Oh, they have that. Oh, da, 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 da. I'm like, if you don't get that invoice paid, right? And just get a lot more neutral.
The silver platter, perfect client who's easy and says yes and pays in full and never complains. And then I think so much of sales is, to your point, like, how many dollars are you actively pushing away? And then you're turning around and complaining about low revenue. It's probably a lot more than you think. When I started my business, I did this all the time, DL. I would get on a sales call. I would go through their stuff and be like, oh, you don't need me. All the time.
Wow.
And then I got coached on that and I was like, oh my God. And there were a couple different scenarios. I would do this with the people who had too much money and I would do this with the people who had too little money. I wanted the Goldilocks. You have just enough money that I could, like, it was so weird. And once I realized that, I'm like, oh my God, they're literally asking me for help. And I am saying no because of my preconceived notion about what the perfect Goldilocks client should be. And then it, like, once you realize that, it's like hits you in the face.
Smacks you.
You're like, oh, I'm the cause of all my problems.
Yeah. And then again, you're like, I have a sales problem. I have a lead. I'm like, no, it's your confidence, right? Like you are afraid of being burned or stuck with a client or anything like that. And it goes back to like bigger things around just like neutralizing our work, right? Like just, I think as entrepreneurs, especially as small business owners, we have so much passion and maybe we were inheriting a family business and there's just a lot of emotion already there. As we were talking about on the last episode, it's not that deep. Just deliver your service. Who cares about their personality? Just deliver the service. Did you do the things you say you were contractually going to do?
Okay, I want to talk a bit about differentiation because I think that flows into messaging.
Yeah.
But this is the biggest question. How do you differentiate yourself?
You know what? I actually figured out how to teach it for the first time last year after business coaching for 8 years. It's called Visa. And so
Jill loves an acronym.
So I happen to teach for a living. So do you, Gina. You like water analogies. I like acronyms and alliteration, and everything has to match. But Visa. And I remember I was talking with a client and she wanted to be a business coach. She had some business experience. And for the life, this was like 2021. This was a long time ago. I still think about this client. For the life of me, we couldn't figure out how to differentiate her. But just this last year, so 5 years later, I created this framework and it's changed everything for everyone. It's called Visa. It stands for values, identity, season of life, aches and pains. And you need 4. Out of those 4, you need 2 of them. So I'll explain what each one is and then I'll give an example. So for me, I am a sales coach for women of color who hate selling. So that is my identity. And then I also have an ache and pain. So let me go through all of them. Values. Think about a value that has nothing to do with your product. This is what people get tripped up on. It has nothing to do with your product. So think vegan, Christian, minimalist. Is there a value system that you have as the business owner that you also want to market to? That will influence and differentiate you from other options, right? Like, I don't know why I don't have kids, but I've been on like a homeschooling kick. And there's this whole, I know, Gina, I know. Well, I'm learning about world schooling. I'm like, wow. And I'm like,
unschooling. Have you learned about unschooling?
I learned about unschooling. I learned about boundless life. Like there's all these value systems on how to actually raise your kids outside of the US, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, oh, interesting. That's a value system. And people are really selling to that value system. And so values is one way. Identity is the next way. So think about, what is your identity? Obviously, I'm a Black woman. I cater to women of color. Do you have a specific identity? You can do like Southerners or farmers or any sort of people where they're like, hey, this is who I am.
Demographic group.
Yeah, you could also do some demographic, small business owners for Gina, right? Can you speak to a certain identity that people have? But notice with Gina, small business owners versus business owners. Even that small of a distinction, or
versus founders,
right,
or solo, like the
freelancers.
Really, yeah. Gig worker, very different words.
Same, essentially, you could say like essentially same thing, but extremely different identifiers that the person like, oh, that's me, right? Yeah. So you want to get a clear identifier. And then I would say my favorite one, which I personally don't have, but a lot of my clients do it, and they clean house, is season of life. And this really works well if you're B2C. So think about toddler moms.
I
Empty
see.
nesters, newly divorced. People love buying things with oh, that's my particular season right now. Those people do so well. Like my clients that niche down in a season of life do so well. And then aches and pains, which I think is the most common one. Is there a particular problem? Yeah. Is there a particular problem that you do? So again, mine is a sales coach for women of color who hate selling. So women of color, I have the I identity,
Yeah.
and then I also have the ache and pain of selling. If we think about Gina, small business owners, that's an identity. And
I think my value is like whatever and I'm not frugal. I'm the opposite of frugal.
abundant, wealthy.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
wealthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that a value?
That's a value. Yeah.
Because like if you look at my content, it's not like
No.
no spend challenges.
And you're not like heavy fire either.
No,
Yeah.
no, very abundant, small business owner, and then ache and pain like on the brink with the debt. No, like I was talking to Dielle about this. I'm like, I get clients who tell me I will not last to summer.
Yeah.
If I don't change.
Yeah. You have a
Ache and
very
pain,
strong ache and pain. Yeah.
very strong and very like urgent
Yeah.
ache and pain.
But no,
wait, I'm a little confused though, because like I could also say that's a season of life, like
no,
in the season of debt. No,
no. Season of life is something that happens to you. If you're on the brink, that was your fault, right?
Oh, I see. It's like,
yeah.
I think I get.
Because like toddler mom, right? Like their kid is 2. Or empty nester, their last kid went off to college, right? There's an outside influence.
Early career,
you just graduated. It's like your literal, if you think about your lifespan, it's your season of life. But if you're on the brink of bankruptcy, that's there's not everybody's season of life. You know what I mean?
It's not, it's not like date or time based.
Exactly. It's circumstantial. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's so, I've never heard this, Dielle.
I just created it last year and
I love it.
People have been going crazy in my community. Yeah, but now, like, that's how you can differentiate.
Would this work for, let's say, a gift shop?
Yeah. So think about, who is your gift shop for? Is it for the Gen Z TikTok this is a good example.
Actually, season of life would be very good for a gift shop.
Yeah, I would say a lot of like those alternative stores with like a lot of different products, they have to kind of niche into either an identity. So I'm thinking about like there's a lot of African stores, right? Or like, if it's from a certain culture, right? Or I just went to LA and I went to a charm store where you can do like a charm bracelet, and they're so Gen Z coded. Journal TikTok, which both Jane and I are down a rabbit hole on. Both journal TikTok is like gone crazy. They're so brilliant. You can put together a journal and add a charm to your journal, and that's how they've been able to get all this traffic and really cater to the Gen Z population.
To the point too, like a gift shop for toddler moms is very different than a gift shop for college students.
Exactly.
Or a gift shop for empty nesters.
Exactly. That would more do like crafts or yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You guys feel so smart. Wait, I want to do another one. How would you do this for a construction company?
I would think about aches and pains. Do they want it up fast? Right? Like, oh, I got to get this built fast. Do they want it more for the environment? Right? Do they care more about costs? So I would like really double down into aches and pains. And then even like the environment could be a value, right? Like, oh, our people really value the environment there. It would be, you could do
to this point too, like very different to be a construction company specializing in like rebuilds after a fire versus tornado, or like, or emergency versus like luxury redesign.
Exactly.
Or commercial versus residential.
I was about to say commercial, or even that, like businesses versus hospitals versus schools versus colleges. Airports. Like,
I have a friend who's an architect and he just got put on data centers. His whole job is architecting data centers in Texas.
I bet he's thrilled for that.
Oh, he's like booked and busy.
Yeah.
And also he's it's kind of mind-numbing work, but he's also like, it's great. I just clock in, I do it, I clock out, and they're fast.
Yeah.
Because they're very repetitive. Yeah. I love this framework.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you use this to then create your messaging, I presume?
Yep. Yeah. And then you know who you're talking to, you know what problem you're solving, and you're automatically different. Versus what I found a lot of people doing is, well, I'm a construction company or I'm a gift shop owner. And it's like, obviously, okay, you build things, okay, you sell things, like we can infer what it is, but I don't know how to, we've been saying this a lot, Gina, I don't know how to refer you. I don't know how to send you traffic. I don't know if there's someone I could specifically say, hey, this would be perfect for you. Right now in selling, to loop it back to like the post-pandemic world, right now in selling, people really are wanting custom experiences. Is this for me? Not is this for me in general, but is this for me? I've been looking up a vet. Vets are all private businesses, very private. I've been looking up a vet that specializes in rescue dogs where we don't know her background and GI issues for rescue dogs. And I've been having my assistant call to be like, okay, if you have to know the breed, we're not going to bring the dog in because we don't know her breed. Just so curated experiences. People are wanting that. They are tired of buying things that solve their problem halfway. They're like, no, you have to know this is for me.
You're making it hard
Yeah.
for them. People are actively using these search terms. They are searching for rescue dog vet or whatever. I mean, I think about this all the time. Like when I go to hire, it's like, I feel like I'm looking for a unicorn and no one is using these words in their content. So I can't find them.
Yep.
I literally, and how many man hours? Like, actually think about this for your business. How many man hours are people using trying to find you? And then they're not even finding you.
Yep.
And they would gladly throw money at you. They'd be thrilled to find you exist.
Well, we're excited to continue the series. On our next episode, I'm going to interview Gina all about money trends that we're noticing in 2026. So make sure to go to our website, smallbusinessmoneyapp.com, sign up to get on the wait list for our coachathon that we're doing on June 1st and our Kickstarter for our app, and we will see you there.
Take it easy, everybody. See you next week.